Excuse me, hot take. Oh my god, there are Yu-Gi-Oh cards still just everywhere. Ah, jeez. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Yeah, of course I want it with everything. Today's topic may not be too big of a surprise if you hang out on the Twitch streams, which, hey, speaking of, every Tuesday and Saturday we go live and we hang out. Come drop by, it's a good time. Anyways, shameless self-plug out of the way. I've been talking about the idea of having the ride deck in premium for a minute now, and I understand that there are some people who think, and I would say rightfully so, that it's a bad idea. Part of me is kind of also like, I don't care? I talked way back in my video when Overdress was first announced that I was very excited at the prospect of being able to deck build with the ride deck in premium, only to then express my disappointment that we don't actually have access to it within the format. I still haven't been able to help but think about what if we did have it in premium. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this is a very selfishly motivated idea, and you do not have to agree, right? This is just my opinion, and all I ask is that maybe hear why I want it before you decide to flame me or whatever. And this is also all just hypothetical, right? There's no reason that Bushiroad is suddenly going to change their mind and say, hey, no, JK, you can totally have the ride deck in premium. Would I like to see that change? You know, maybe. I think it could be an interesting idea to start playing around with it in your own personal casual games and just kind of see how it shapes up, how you like it. But we'll get into my reasons now. Like I said, you can agree, you can disagree. It's all fair, but these are just why I would like to see it. For me personally, as someone who builds a lot of different decks and finds probably my greatest joy in this game out of building around a random deck idea and then seeing it work, the idea of having the ride deck in premium opens up so many doors for creative deck building, right? Grade ratios are no longer a thing at that point, and you're really only restricted by what you want to try and fit in and make happen. I tend to build my decks with a going first and a going second plan in place, just because format right now, that can kind of make all the difference if you can play to whether you're on the play or on the draw. And being able just to kind of guarantee a certain grade 3 ride for certain scenarios and then being able to mulligan for the other if you don't have it just seems like it would make a world of difference in the world of deck building. Another reason why I would really like to see this is because orders are a design space that is clearly being explored more and more within the confines of overdress standard. Now, we've had orders for a bit now, but they haven't really done much with them. And now seeing a lot of these blitz orders be explored, I would love to be able to incorporate that into premium. It's just a lot more difficult in premium because without a ride deck, you can't incorporate too many orders without it severely hampering your ride consistency, and that really sucks. And I don't want to miss out on some of those really creative and interesting design spaces that they can and seems like they are going into within the state of premium. I also just really want it because it would take out the bad RNG of losing or being put at a severe disadvantage because you couldn't ride. Sure, we have the assist mechanic, but in the format right now, having to lose 2 cards at any point within that early game is incredibly detrimental with how much aggression decks are putting out in the format right now. And anything that puts more control into the player's hands is absolutely something that I am all for. The last reason, and probably the biggest one to me, and why I'm kind of confused why we don't have it already, is that if premium is the format with everything, why not this? Hey, editing Ty here, just piping in real quick, because I apparently totally forgot to mention how all the new overdress boss units also seem to like really rely on the ride deck to be as effective as they can be. And so in order to see them be more playable in the format, the ride deck would also just kind of help that too. But anyways, there's my argument. And like I said, it's very selfishly motivated. And like I also said, I understand why it wouldn't be a good idea. I understand why not having this makes sense. People like to bring up all the time like, oh, do you really want your opponent to get their one of Zazan every single game by placing it in the ride deck? Not to mention a bunch of other broken things, mainly because there's like a lot of cards in premium and I don't know every other single broken thing that could be brought up in premium. But I think the Zazan argument is kind of a bad one just because, well, Zazan should just be banned anyway. And two, why can't that be solved by just saying, hey, Zazan can't be put into a ride deck? And for that matter, why isn't any problem just instantly solved by saying, hey, this can't be put into a ride deck? And this will also kind of harken back to the conversation surrounding ban lists, right? If we were to get a more comprehensive ban list, why can't that just also include what can and can't be placed in the ride deck? Again, I understand why somebody may not like that as much. People don't necessarily like being told what they can and cannot do. There's also the people that like to go on about how riding up is part of the game, and maybe those people have kind of changed their tune since Overdress was announced. But I do remember that when this first was announced, they didn't like it because having to ride up was, you know, part of the game, and misriding was part of the game, and that's just, no, I don't like that. I think that's a bad argument. And if you're in favor of having inherent inconsistencies with the game, it's no different than not having a land to play in Magic or having too many land to play in Magic. If you fall on either end of the spectrum, it still doesn't feel good. And I think this is essentially the same type of thing as like when Force of Will came around and took what were your land cards and put them in a separate deck. The exact same thing, and I couldn't be happier with it personally. I also just don't see why the format wouldn't grow with this. Like, it would morph around it and create a new tool for us to use, and things would kind of go from there. I think it would give so many more decks an option to get more consistency and ideally bring more clans up to the same level with each other. Would it change things drastically? Yeah, sure, but I don't think it would be so format warping that the decks wouldn't be able to adapt to being able to use this new tool. These are all just growing pains in my mind that I would personally be willing to put up with if it meant that we could have this amazing tool at our disposal within the context of premium. But like I said at the start of this is all just hypothetical. Like, clearly there's no plans for Bushiroad to bring the ride deck into premium, and I don't necessarily even think that they would. I just want to put my thoughts out there that if enough people were to try it out and see, hey, this is actually really fun, it opens up the format even more and makes for even more interesting decisions and options when deck building, I'd be willing to put up with a little bit of growing pains. And you don't have to agree. I would be interested to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. And you know, if enough people decide to chime in, respectfully, of course, maybe we'll do another comment video. We can kind of discuss ideas from the community, and I think that would also be really, really fun. In any case, this is something that I think I might try and play around with in casual games with my friends, and I'd honestly encourage you to try the same because I would like to know what other people's experiences end up being of playing with the ride deck in premium. Now, just do me a favor and don't put Zazan in the ride deck. And if something is obviously broken, you know, bring it up. You know, like, I don't want the takeaway to be like, oh, we tried the ride deck in premium and everything was super broken, so we just shouldn't do it. I would kind of like to try and see what a realistic scenario would be if we were to be able to have this in premium. But anyways, there's my hot take. There's my thoughts. Agree, disagree, let me know what you think. I think this could just be a really interesting idea in the long run, and you know, maybe if we make enough noise and it works out, we could potentially see it in premium. I doubt it, wishful thinking, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, like and subscribe and all the YouTube-y things, and you know, maybe come by and stop by in a stream on like a Tuesday or a Saturday, especially if you decide to try and play around with a ride deck in premium yourself. I'd love to know how it goes. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.